My name is Layla. I am from Egypt. I came to the United States when I was 24 years old. Before that, I lived in Cairo with my parents and 2 sisters. My family was kind and close. We had a small house, but we had big dreams. I wanted to be a writer. I loved stories, I loved books, and I loved words. But there was one big problem. I only knew Arabic. I studied some English in school, but I never spoke it. I could say hello, thank you, and a few small sentences. I was always afraid that I would say something wrong. I was afraid people would laugh at me. So I stayed quiet. When I arrived in the USAS, everything felt big and strange. The airport was loud. The signs were all in English. People spoke fast. I didn't understand. My heart beat fast. I was afraid. I held my bag tightly. I kept thinking, how will I live here? How will I talk to anyone? I didn't have many friends in the USAS. I came alone on a student visa. I got a small apartment near the university. It was quiet, sometimes too quiet. I missed home. I missed Arabic. I missed the sound of my sisters talking and my mother cooking in the kitchen. But most of all, I missed feeling like I belonged somewhere. At the university, I joined an English class for international students. On the first day, I was so nervous. My hands were cold. My heart was heavy. I walked into the room slowly. There were students from different countries: Korea, Brazil, France, and Turkey. Everyone looked as scared as I felt. The teacher came in. She was smiling. Her name was Miss Carol. She wore a yellow sweater and blue jeans. Her voice was soft, but strong. She looked at all of us and said, "Welcome. You are safe here." Her words were simple, but they touched me. For the first time since arriving in America, I felt a little calm. Miss Carol asked us to say our names. When it was my turn, I stood up. My voice was shaking. I said, "My name is Layla. I am from Egypt." My face felt hot. But Miss Carol smiled at me. She said, "Nice to meet you, Layla." I sat down quickly, but in my heart, I felt proud. I spoke English in front of people, and nothing bad happened. The class was simple. We talked about our daily lives. We spoke in pairs. We practiced saying things like, "Where are you from?" and "What do you like to eat?" It was slow, and it was hard sometimes. I made mistakes. I forgot words. I said funny things. But Miss Carol never laughed. She listened. She corrected us kindly. She always said, "Mistakes mean you are learning." One day, after class, I stayed to speak with her. I said, "I want to speak better. I want to write. But I am scared." She looked at me and said something I never forgot. "Layla," she said, "you don't have to be perfect. You only have to be brave." Her words felt like light in a dark room. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to be brave. So I started to do small things every day. I spoke to the woman at the grocery store. I asked the bus driver about the stops. I even asked a classmate to have coffee after class. Every time I used English, even a little, I felt stronger. Miss Carroll taught us in a special way. We did not use heavy textbooks. She gave us short stories, easy poems, and small videos. She said, "English is not just grammar. It is feeling. It is life. You have to live it." She showed us how to learn through reading, speaking, and listening. She taught us something called shadowing. She said, "Listen to a sentence in English. Then repeat it. Try to sound like the speaker. Do it many times." At first it felt strange. I played a video and spoke at the same time. But slowly, I saw change. My mouth moved faster. My tongue was not afraid anymore. It was like music. Copy, repeat, copy, repeat. It helped. Another thing she said was, "Think in English. Speak out loud when you are alone. Say what you are doing. Say what you see." It felt funny at first. I walked around my room saying, "I am making tea. The water is hot. I like tea." I laughed at myself. But it helped. The more I spoke, the less afraid I felt. My English was not perfect, but I was using it. It was alive inside me. That was the most important part. At home, I watched children's shows. I paused and repeated sentences. I wrote new words in a small notebook. I carried it everywhere. I even spoke to myself in the mirror. "Hello, my name is Layla. I am from Egypt. I like books. I want to learn English." I said it every day. I began to dream in English. I began to think in English. It became part of me. But not everything was easy. One day, I went to the doctor's office. I needed to ask a question, but I forgot the words. The nurse looked busy. I felt small. I wanted to cry. I stood there in silence. My heart was beating fast. Then I remembered Miss Carroll's voice. "You only have to be brave." So I took a breath. I said slowly, "I don't speak English well. Can you help me?" The nurse looked at me and smiled. "Of course," she said. "You're doing fine." I smiled too. It was a small win, but it meant so much to me. After 1 month, I was speaking more. My classmates noticed. They asked, "Layla, how are you learning so fast?" I said, "I practice every day. I speak out loud. I watch easy videos. I read small stories. And I make mistakes." They laughed. They said, "We want to learn like you." I told them about shadowing and thinking aloud. We started doing it together. After class, we walked to the park and talked in English. We made mistakes. We helped each other. It was fun. I was not fluent yet. I still made mistakes, but I was not afraid anymore. That was the biggest change. Fear kept me quiet, but practice gave me a voice. Miss Carroll helped me believe in myself. She always said, "Your voice matters. Use it." Before I share the rest of my story, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. The more I practiced, the more I believed in myself. I started doing small things that I never thought I could do. I joined the library near my apartment. The woman at the desk asked, "How can I help you?" I smiled and said, "I want to read English books." "Easy ones, please." She smiled back and showed me a shelf of books for beginners. I picked a small story book with pictures. It was called Anna's New Job. I read it slowly at home. I read the same page 5 times, but I liked it. I understood more every time. I underlined new words and said them out loud. The story was about a girl who came to a new city. She was scared, but she found her way. I felt like Anna. Her story was also my story. One day in class, Miss Carroll asked us to talk about our dreams. "What do you want to do in the future?" she said. Everyone spoke about jobs, family, and travel. When it was my turn, I took a deep breath. I said, "I want to be a writer. I want to write stories in English." Some students looked surprised. I felt nervous, but Miss Carroll smiled. She said, "That's a beautiful dream, Layla, and I believe you can do it." Her words gave me hope. That day, I went home and opened a notebook. I started writing small things in English. Just a few lines. Today it rained. I stayed home. I made tea and read a book. That was my first journal entry. My grammar was not perfect, but I didn't care. I was writing in English. I was using my voice. Every morning I walked to school. It took 20 minutes. During the walk, I spoke out loud. I said what I saw. The trees are green. The cars are fast. I feel cold today. People looked at me sometimes, but I didn't stop. It helped me think in English. It helped me feel more natural. In class, I started answering more questions. I stopped worrying about mistakes. Miss Carroll always said, "It's better to try and be wrong than to stay silent and never grow." I remembered that when I wanted to hide. After a few weeks, something special happened. Miss Carroll asked me to help a new student. Her name was Sora. She came from South Korea. She was shy and quiet, just like I was in the beginning. She spoke very little. Miss Carroll said, "Layla, can you help her feel more comfortable?" I said yes. That afternoon, I sat next to Sora. I smiled and said, "It's okay." I was afraid too. Sora looked at me with big eyes. She nodded a little. I asked her simple questions. "Do you like coffee? What is your favorite color?" She smiled and said, "Blue." "And tea?" I laughed. Me too, I said. That was the start of our friendship. Sora and I started studying together. We watched English cartoons. We read short stories and spoke about them. We went to the supermarket and practiced words like milk, bread, and receipt. We even tried to write small stories. I felt proud helping someone else. It made me feel strong. I was not just learning. I was growing. I was becoming someone new. One evening, Miss Carroll showed us a video of a woman giving a speech. The woman had a strong accent, but she spoke clearly. She talked about learning English as an adult. She said, "It's not about sounding perfect. It's about being brave enough to speak." That line stayed in my heart. I watched that video again and again. I copied her voice. I did shadowing with her speech. I said every word she said at the same time. It helped me so much. My mouth felt faster. My English felt smoother. Then came a big moment. Miss Carroll told us, "Next week, each of you will give a small talk. Just 2 minutes. You will tell us about your life or your dream." My hands got cold. My stomach felt tight. I had never spoken in front of a class, but I knew I had to try. I wanted to be that brave woman, so I prepared. I wrote my speech. I read it many times. I practiced in front of the mirror. I practiced in front of Sora. I did shadowing with myself. I recorded my voice and listened. I corrected small things. I didn't want it to be perfect. I just wanted it to be real. The day came. I stood in front of the class. My hands were shaking. My voice was soft. But I spoke. "My name is Layla. I came from Egypt. When I arrived, I was afraid. I could not speak English. I stayed silent. But now I am learning. I am trying. I want to write stories in English. One day, I will. Thank you." The room was quiet. Then my classmates clapped. Miss Carroll smiled and said, "Well done, Layla. You spoke from your heart." I sat down and felt something new. I felt strong. I felt seen. I was not the girl who was too scared to speak anymore. I was becoming the woman who had something to say. Later that day, Miss Carroll came to me. She said, "Layla, would you like to join our school's speaking club?" I didn't know what to say. She explained, "It's a small group. We meet once a week. We practice speaking. No grade, just conversation." I said yes. I was still afraid, but I said yes. The first meeting of the club was small. 5 students and 1 teacher. We sat in a circle and talked about food, music, and dreams. I spoke slowly. I made some mistakes, but no one laughed. Everyone listened. I felt safe. I felt happy. As the weeks passed, I started to feel like I belonged. The bus driver smiled when I said good morning. The cafe worker knew my name and my order. I joined a writing class at the local library. It was in English. It was not easy, but I tried. The teacher there helped me with grammar. She said, "Your ideas are beautiful. Let's work on the words together." At home, I still missed my family. I still felt lonely some days. But now, I could call my parents and say, "I spoke English today. I helped someone. I am learning." My mother cried happy tears. She said, "I am proud of you, Habibti." Those words filled my heart. One Sunday, I wrote a story about my first day in America. I wrote it in English. It was short, just 2 pages. I showed it to Miss Carroll. She read it and said, "Layla, you are already a writer." I laughed, but her words stayed with me. Maybe it was true. Maybe I could become what I dreamed. One day, something special happened. Miss Carroll told me, "Layla, I shared your story with the head teacher. She wants to meet you." I felt nervous. I asked, "Why?" Miss Carroll said, "She thinks your story can help other students. She wants you to speak at the welcome class for new learners." My heart started beating fast. Speak? In front of new students? Me? I wanted to say no. I wanted to hide. But something inside me said, "Say yes." So I took a deep breath and said, "Okay, I will try." That night, I could not sleep. I kept thinking about my first days in the USA, how I stood in silence, how I was afraid to ask for help. I thought about Miss Carroll's words, "You don't have to be perfect. You only have to be brave." I wrote down my thoughts. I wrote my journey from fear to hope. I practiced saying it aloud. I did shadowing with my own voice. I stood in front of the mirror and practiced again and again. The day of the welcome class came. I wore my favorite shirt and put on a small necklace from home. It reminded me of my mother. I walked into the classroom. There were new students, just like I had been before. Some looked shy. Some looked tired. I saw myself in their eyes. Miss Carroll introduced me. "This is Layla. She was once in your seat. Now she wants to share something with you." I stood up. My hands were cold, but my voice was steady. I said, "Hello. My name is Layla. I am from Egypt. I came here with fear. I could not speak English. I was silent, but now I speak. I read. I write. You can too. Speak every day. Make mistakes. Don't be afraid. English is not about being perfect. It is about trying. It is about connection." The room was quiet. Then, one by one, the students smiled. A few clapped. A woman from China said, "Thank you. You give me hope." I smiled back. For the first time, I felt like I had a voice, not just in English, but in life. I was not just learning the language. I was becoming someone new. I was no longer the girl who was afraid to speak. A few weeks later, Sora came to me. She said, "Layla, I want to write a story. Like you." I smiled and said, "Let's write together." We started meeting at the library. We read small books. We wrote in our notebooks. We helped each other with grammar and spelling. Sometimes we laughed at our funny mistakes. Sometimes we cried when we wrote about home. But we never gave up. One day Sora wrote, "I used to feel invisible. Now I feel brave." I hugged her. I understood those words so well. Miss Carroll told me about a small contest at the library. It was for international students who wanted to share their stories. She said, "Layla, you should enter." I was unsure. My English still had errors. But she looked at me with that same soft smile and said, "Your story matters." So I wrote my story. I called it The Day I Spoke. I printed it, put it in a folder, and submitted it. 1 month later, I got an email. I had won second place. I could not believe it. I read the message again and again. I ran to school and showed Miss Carroll. She cried. "You did it, Layla," she said. "You are a writer now." That night, I sat by my window. The street below was quiet. The stars were bright. I thought about my life. I was still far from home. I still missed my family. But I was not lost anymore. I was found. My world changed because one teacher believed in me. Because she said, "Speak even if you are scared." Because she showed me simple ways to learn, reading stories, thinking aloud, shadowing voices, using English in life. She didn't just teach me English. She helped me find myself again. After that, I started helping new students more often. I met girls who were afraid, boys who never spoke, older women who said, "I am too old to learn." And I told them, "It is never too late." I showed them how to speak slowly, how to listen closely, how to use simple words, and how to grow a little more each day. I told them, "Your voice is not broken. It just needs time." Months passed. Seasons changed. My English became stronger. One day, I went to a job interview. It was for a part-time job at the library. I sat in front of the manager. She asked me questions. I answered with small, clear sentences. I said, "I love books. I love helping people. I learned English here. I want to help others too." She smiled and said, "We'd be lucky to have you." I got the job. Now I work in that library. I help people find books. I talk to them about easy stories and learning English. Sometimes I see a new student walk in, nervous and quiet. I smile and say, "Hi, how can I help you?" And I remember that girl I once was, the girl who sat in silence on a train, the girl who didn't understand the words, the girl who was afraid to speak. That girl still lives inside me, but she is not afraid anymore. She is learning. She is growing. She is speaking. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. More emotional and inspiring stories are coming soon. My name is Anna. I am 32 years old. I am writing this because I want other women to learn from my mistake. I want them to see the truth before it's too late. Sometimes we destroy our own happiness and blame others. That's what I did. And now I live with the pain of losing someone who once loved me deeply. I met my husband in United States when I was very young. We were best friends. We did everything together. We talked for hours, walked everywhere, and shared our dreams. I waited for him while he was in college. I believed in him. He worked hard and finally got a job. After that, our families met and agreed we should marry. It was a simple but happy wedding. I felt lucky. I thought my life was perfect. Soon, we had a son. He is 7 years old now. He is my joy and my light. At that time, my husband worked a lot. He was tired, but he tried his best to be a good father and husband. Still, he had one problem. He was short-tempered. He got angry easily. Sometimes he shouted, but he never hurt me. He never touched me in a bad way. He just lost his temper quickly. That was his weakness. And I had mine too. But I didn't know it yet. I had pride. Too much pride. I didn't want to feel small. I didn't want him to think I was weak. I wanted to show him that he could not control me. That was where things started going wrong. Every time we argued, I would pack my bags and go to my family's house. I would cry in front of my sisters and tell them my side of the story. They always believed me. They never asked what I had done. They would call my husband and shout at him. They would say bad things and defend me. At home, my husband stayed quiet. He didn't know what to say. He was always shocked at how fast I left. He didn't understand why I didn't try to fix things. I didn't want divorce. I just wanted to prove a point. I wanted him to fear losing me. Sometimes I even said, "If you want, you can divorce me." I didn't mean it, but I said it many times. I said it in anger. I said it to win. But words can hurt. And some words break hearts. Then one day, I went too far. I pushed him again with my words. I called him weak. I told him he was nothing. I said, "Go ahead. Hit me if you are a man." That day, something changed. His face looked dark. He slapped me. Only once. Then he opened the door and told me to leave. I was shocked. I stood there, frozen. I never thought he would raise his hand. I ran out crying. I went to my family. My sisters were angry. They said, "This is enough. We are calling the police." I was still crying. I said yes. I felt hurt, but I also felt powerful. I thought I had won. My husband was taken to the police station. He spent the night there. People looked at me with pity. They thought I was a victim. But deep inside, I knew I was not completely innocent. I had hurt him with my words many times. I had pushed him. I had used my pride like a knife. I had embarrassed him in front of his own family. The next day, his family came to my house. They brought him along. He looked tired. His eyes were red. He knelt down and said sorry. He begged me to take back the case. He said he was sorry. He said he lost control. He said he had never been violent before. His mother cried. His sister held my hand and said, "Please forgive him. This is not who he is." I looked at him. I saw his pain. I saw his shame. And for the first time, I saw the damage I had done too. So I dropped the case. We went back home together. Things were quiet for a while. He tried to be gentle. He bought me small gifts. He helped with the baby. We even laughed sometimes. I thought maybe we could fix our marriage, but I had not changed. Not really. I still had pride. One small argument happened. He said something about money. I got angry. I packed my bags again. I left. I didn't even explain much. I just left. He stayed in the house alone. I stayed with my family. I didn't tell them the full story. I made it look like he was the problem again. 2 days later, I got a call from a friend. She said, "Your husband is in the hospital." My heart dropped. I stood up. I wanted to go see him, but my sisters stopped me. They said, "Don't go. He is lying. He wants to get your attention. If you go now, he wins." I sat down. I cried inside, but I listened to them. I didn't go. I didn't call. I didn't check on him. He stayed in the hospital for 1 week. When he came back home, I stayed with my family. I waited. I thought he would call me and beg me to return, but he didn't. Then, one afternoon, I got a letter. It was from the court. He wanted a divorce. My hand shook. I stared at the paper. I didn't believe it. I never thought he would take that step. My pride told me to stay strong. My pride told me to act like I didn't care. So I called him. I said, "Yes, let's get a divorce. I don't want to live like this anymore. I lived in hell." I thought he would say no. I thought he would beg, but he didn't. When we went to court, I wanted to make him pay. I told the judge that I wanted to take half of everything we had. I wanted to hurt him like he hurt me. But what he said broke me more than any words ever had. He stood up, looked at the judge, and said, "Give her everything. The house, the car, the money. I just want peace." In that moment, I felt so small. I wanted to run out of the room. I wanted to scream, but I just sat there. My heart was broken, not because I was losing a house or a man, but because I had destroyed my own marriage. with my own hands, my own mouth, and my own pride. That was in July 2009. Before I share the rest of my story, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. After the divorce, I went back to my family. Everyone said I was brave. They said I did the right thing. My sisters told me I would find someone better. They said my life was just beginning. I smiled and laughed with them. But at night, I cried. My bed felt too big. My room felt cold. My heart felt empty. I didn't want to be alone, but I couldn't say it, not out loud. I thought he would come back. I thought he would call one day and say, "Let's start over." But weeks passed, then months. No calls, no messages. He was gone. He didn't look back. He moved on like I was never there. And that made the pain even worse. I looked strong outside, but I was breaking inside. I missed the sound of his voice. I missed the way he held our son. I missed the man I once laughed with. I kept waiting. I hoped he would miss me too. But one morning, I heard something that made me freeze. My friend called and said, "He's married again." I didn't believe her at first, but then I saw a photo online. There he was, in a new suit, with a new wife, smiling, holding her hand, the same hand that once held mine. My body felt weak. My heart started racing. I sat down and stared at the photo for hours. Everyone around me moved on. Even my sisters, who once cheered for my divorce, were now happily married. They had children. They had homes. They had husbands who loved them. And I was alone, still sleeping in my childhood bed, still eating my mother's food, still waiting for something that would never come. I became the joke in the family, the sister who had everything and lost it, the one who was warned but didn't listen. People started talking. Neighbors whispered when I walked past. Some of them laughed behind my back. She thought she was better than him. Now look at her. Wasted. My pride, the thing that made me leave, was now killing me slowly. I wanted to scream. I wanted to go back and change everything. But I couldn't. That door was closed. Forever. My son was the only light in my life. He looked like his father. He asked about him often. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to lie. But I also didn't want to tell him the truth. That his mother was the reason his father left. So I stayed quiet. I said, "Your father is busy." But he was not busy. He just didn't want to be part of my life anymore. He still sent money for our son. That money helped us survive. Without it, I would have had nothing. I started looking for work, but I had no real skills. I had spent most of my adult life being a wife. I thought that would be enough. I never planned for this. I went to interviews, but nobody wanted to hire me. I was too old, too slow, too unsure of myself. My confidence was gone. I was tired. I felt useless. Sometimes I walked past women who were younger than me. They wore nice clothes. They laughed with their partners. They looked happy. And I felt invisible, like I didn't matter, like I was already forgotten. And maybe I was. In my town, a divorced woman is not respected. People think she is broken. People think she must have done something wrong. And in my case, they were right. My own family began to treat me differently. My mother stopped asking how I was. My sisters stopped defending me. They said, "You had a good man." They said, "We tried to stop you." But back then, they were the loudest ones pushing me. They told me to leave. They told me to fight. Now they act like they always knew better. They sit with their husbands and joke about me. They call me proud. They say I was too difficult. They say I destroyed my own home. And maybe they're right. I started having dreams at night. In the dream, I was back in our house. He was sitting on the sofa. Our son was laughing. I was cooking in the kitchen. Everything was peaceful, and I was happy. But then I woke up. I saw the ceiling of my parents' house. I heard my sister's voices in the next room, and I remembered the truth. He was gone. My home was gone. And my dream was just a dream. I thought about calling him. I picked up the phone many times, but I never pressed the button. What would I say? "I'm sorry. Please come back." No. I knew he wouldn't come. He had a new life now. A better life. Maybe his new wife didn't argue. Maybe she didn't pack her bags after every fight. Maybe she smiled when he got angry. Maybe she made him feel like a man again. And maybe that's all he ever wanted from me. I started writing letters. Not to him, just to myself. I wrote down my feelings, my regrets, my mistakes. I cried as I wrote. The pages got wet with my tears. I wanted to go back in time, to the day I said, "If you want to, you can divorce me." I wanted to grab that younger version of myself and tell her, "Don't say that. Don't push him. Don't listen to your pride. Don't walk away. Don't destroy your family." But no one can go back. You can only move forward. And for a long time, I didn't know how. I was stuck. Stuck in pain. Stuck in memories. Stuck in regret. Every day felt the same. Wake up. Pretend I'm fine. Take care of my son. Try not to cry. Go to sleep. Repeat. One day, I saw my ex-husband in town. He was holding hands with his new wife. They looked happy. They didn't see me. I stood behind a shop window and watched them. My hands shook. My legs felt weak. I wanted to run, but I couldn't move. I just stood there, watching the man I once called my own. now laughing with someone else. That night I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling and whispered, "You lost him, Anna, and it's your fault." After that night, something changed in me. I stopped waiting. I stopped hoping. I finally accepted that he was not coming back. My marriage was over. My family was broken. And I had no one to blame except myself. The truth was heavy. It sat on my chest every morning, but I stopped running from it. I let the pain come. I let the tears fall. I let the memories break me. I started living differently. I stopped talking too much. I stopped telling everyone my problems. I stopped blaming my husband for everything. Because deep inside, I knew the truth. He wasn't perfect, but he tried. He shouted sometimes, but he never stopped working. He never stopped caring for our son. And even now, years later, he still sends money every month. He still remembers his child. And me? I am still stuck in the past, still depending on the man I hurt. My son is growing fast. He asks questions now. "Mom, why don't you live with Dad? Mom, did you stop loving him?" I never know what to say. I don't want to lie, but I don't want him to hate me either. So I just say, "Things didn't work out." He looks at me and nods, but I know he's still wondering. I see the sadness in his eyes. I see how much he misses his father, and it breaks me again. Sometimes I see couples in the park. The man holds the baby. The woman laughs beside him. And I wonder, why couldn't that be us? Why did I let one argument turn into war? Why didn't I stay calm? Why didn't I talk instead of shout? Why did I keep walking out every time I got angry? The answers come now, but it's too late. I had everything. A man who loved me, a son who needed a family, a home, and I gave it all away for nothing. I wanted to win. I wanted to be right. I wanted power. But what do I have now? Loneliness, regret, a life I never wanted, and a heart that will never fully heal. I no longer listen to my sisters. The same people who told me to leave are the ones who now laugh at me. They have husbands. They have homes. They have peace. And I have silence. I hear them whisper, "Anna was too proud. She pushed a good man away. Now she's alone." And they're right. I can't argue anymore. I can only listen. My parents are older now. My mother doesn't ask about my feelings. She just sighs when she sees me. My father looks away when people ask about my marriage. I brought shame to them. I didn't mean to, but I did. I was their first daughter. I was the one they were proud of. And now I am just a quiet shadow in their house. Every day I think of writing to him, just to say sorry, just to tell him that I finally understand, not to get him back, not to ask for love, but to give him peace, to give myself peace. But I haven't done it yet. I'm scared, not of his reply, but of the silence. What if he doesn't answer? What if he has truly moved on? What if I'm nothing but a name from his past? So I write this story instead, not just for myself, but for other women, for every wife who thinks walking away makes her strong, for every sister who gives advice without thinking of the pain it brings, for every girl who thinks pride is more important than peace. Please learn from me. Don't let your pride speak louder than your heart. Don't let anger destroy something beautiful. Don't leave just to prove a point. Don't talk to everyone about your problems. Don't let your family speak for you. Speak for yourself. Fight for your marriage if it's worth saving. If your husband is hurting you, then leave. If he is cruel, then protect yourself. But if he is just human, just angry sometimes, just tired sometimes, then try to stay. Try to talk. Try to listen. Because good men are not perfect. They will make mistakes, just like we do. I made my mistakes, and now I live with the result. I am not ashamed to say I was wrong. I said terrible things. I used pain to get what I wanted. I forgot how to love. I forgot how to forgive. I forgot that marriage needs patience. And now I am alone. And I don't want any woman to feel this pain. That's why I wrote this. To the woman reading this, please be wise. Listen to your heart. Not to people who don't sleep in your bed. Not to people who won't cry with you at night. You are the one who will feel the pain. So you must make the right choice. A strong woman knows when to speak, but she also knows when to stay silent. A wise woman knows when to walk away, but she also knows when to hold on. I didn't know these things before, but I know them now. I learned the hard way, through pain, through loss, through silence, through the eyes of my child who misses his father every day. I hope one day he will forgive me. I hope one day I will forgive myself too. This is my truth, my story, my lesson. I had a home. I had a husband. I had love, and I lost it, not because of him, but because of me. Thank you for reading. I hope this story helps you keep your home. I hope it saves one woman from making the same mistake. Please remember, pride won't keep you warm at night, but love, respect, and understanding just might.